I wasn't angry when it happened. That surprised me. I had imagined this moment 100 times, dramatic, emotional, maybe even loud. But when I finally sat across from him, holding the resignation letter in my hands, I felt calm, almost relieved. I had given that company years of my life, late nights, missed weekends, problems solved quietly, without recognition. I was the person people came to when things broke menos, but never the one they thanked when things worked. Still, I did my job, and I did it well. When I told him I was leaving, he didn't look shocked. He smiled. Not a kind smile. Not a respectful one. A small amused laugh escaped him, like I had just told a joke he didn't take seriously. Are you serious? He asked, leaning back in his chair. You're making a mistake. I explained my reasons calmly. The lack of growth, the constant pressure, the feeling of being invisible. He waved his hand dismissively. You'll be back, he said. People always are. A few co-workers nearby looked over. Some smirked, others pretended not to hear. I felt the heat rise to my face, menos not from shame, but from clarity. That was the moment I understood something important. They didn't respect me because they never believed I mattered. So I stood up, thanked him for his time and walked out. Behind me, I heard laughter. But as the door closed, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Freedom. I didn't know it yet, but that laugh would come back to haunt him. And the silence I left behind was about to cost them everything. Walking out of that office felt unreal, not because I was unsure, menos, but because of the looks I received as I passed by, some curious, some amused, some quietly judgmental. No one said anything. They didn't need to. I could feel it. She won't last. She'll be back. She's overreacting. I packed my desk slowly, not because I was sad, but because I wanted to remember that moment clearly. The plant I kept alive longer than any project. The notebook filled with fixes no one knew I had written. The coffee mug with the company logo that suddenly felt ironic. As I carried the box to the elevator, someone laughed behind me. Not loud, not cruel, just careless, and somehow that made it worse. Outside the building, the air felt lighter. I stood there for a moment, box in my arms, watching people hurry past me, minus all of them going back to a place I had just left behind. For the first time in years, my phone was silent. No emails, no urgent calls, no problems to fix. It felt strange. And freeing. That night, doubt tried to creep in. What if they were right? What if I had made a mistake? But then I remembered the laugh, the dismissal, the certainty with which he believed I didn't matter, and I knew something they didn't. I hadn't left because I was weak. I had left because I knew exactly how valuable I was. They just hadn't figured it out yet. The first week away felt quiet. Too quiet. I kept reaching for my phone out of habit, expecting messages that never came, emergencies that were no longer mine, questions I didn't need to answer. At first, I thought it would take them a while to notice. They had always treated my work like background noise, something that just happened, without effort, without thought. Problems solved before they became visible, crises avoided before they reached meetings. I was invisible when things worked. But systems don't stay stable forever. By the second week, I started hearing things. A former coworker texted me casually, asking if I had any idea why a certain process was failing. Another mentioned that deadlines were slipping, that small errors were piling up. I didn't respond, not out of spite, out of distance. I had warned them before I left, explained what would happen if no one maintained the systems I managed. They nodded, smiled. Changed the subject. Now, those warnings were becoming reality. Clients were frustrated. Meetings were running long. People were arguing over solutions that didn't exist. And still, no one called me. Not yet. That was the strangest part. They were struggling, but their pride was louder than their panic. I went on with my life. updated my resume, took long walks, slept better than I had in years. But somewhere, deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Because problems don't disappear just because you laugh at the person who understands them. They wait, and when they surface, they don't care about pride at all. By the third week, the silence changed. It wasn't calm anymore. It was tense. I started noticing it in small ways. Messages sent late at night, missed calls I didn't answer right away, people suddenly checking in after weeks of indifference. Still, no one said what really mattered. Until one afternoon, my phone rang. I recognized the number immediately. I let it ring, not out of revenge, but because I needed to breathe before answering, because I knew this call wasn't about me. It was about what they had lost. When I finally picked up, his voice was different, careful, polite. The confidence I remembered was gone. "Hey," he said, "do you have a minute?" I almost laughed. He talked in circles at first, asked how I was, complimented my work, mentioned how things had been hectic since I left. I listened. Then he said it. "We're having some issues, and we thought maybe you could help us understand what's going on. Help, not apologize." Not to admit he was wrong. Help. I stayed quiet for a moment, long enough for him to get uncomfortable. "That's interesting," I said calmly. "I thought you said I'd be back anyway." The line went silent, and for the first time, I realized something had shifted. They weren't laughing anymore. They were afraid. After that call, everything made sense. They weren't confused. They weren't unlucky. They were unprepared. The issue they were facing wasn't new. It was something I had warned about months before. Something I had quietly handled so many times that I forgot it even existed, until I was gone. He explained the situation carefully, choosing his words like stepping on broken glass. A system failure, a major client threatening to walk away, deadlines collapsing on top of each other. I listened without interrupting, not because I felt sympathy menos, but because I finally understood the full picture. They had tried everything, everyone, and nothing worked. That's when he said my name again, softer this time, almost respectful. "You always knew how to deal with this," he said. "No one else understands it like you do." There it was. The truth he never wanted to say out loud. I wasn't replaceable. I wasn't dramatic. I wasn't overreacting. I was essential. I told him I'd think about it. Not yes, not no, just think. When the call ended, I sat there in silence, letting the weight of that moment settle in. Weeks earlier, he had left. Now, he was asking for help he couldn't find anywhere else. And for the first time since I walked out of that office, I realized something powerful. The moment they needed me was the moment I finally had all the control. I didn't rush to answer. I took my time. Menos not to punish them, but to remind myself of who I had become outside that place. The version of me that didn't live on deadlines or panic calls. When I finally agreed to meet, the room felt different. The same office, the same table, but not the same balance of power. He didn't laugh this time. He avoided my eyes, spoke carefully, thanked me for coming, like it was a favor instead of a necessity. He explained the problem again, slower now. Asked if I could take a look. The tone was almost pleading. I listened, nodded, let him finish. Then I told him the truth. Yes, I could fix it, in a few hours, because I always had. But I wouldn't do it the way he expected. I wouldn't come back quietly. I wouldn't accept the same terms. I wouldn't pretend the laughter never happened. I stood up, looked him in the eye, and made my conditions clear. This time, my value wouldn't be questioned. My voice wouldn't be ignored. And my work would never be treated like background noise again. He agreed, without hesitation, because now he understood something too late. The moment he laughed was the moment he lost control. If this story made you think, like the video, subscribe to the channel, activate the notification bell, and don't miss the next chapters. Menos because sometimes the greatest revenge is knowing exactly how much you're worth.